That's pretty cool.
Okay. So I'm very excited about that.
No, I was just grumbling about that to Jeff earlier. I don't get to go to Italy or Italy.
No, I don't. This is better for me. You know, I'm kind of short, so I need to touch the ground.
Italy.
What do you do? Not long enough. 10 days. And it was just quick, fast, go.
I know it's your personal office thing, but I'm elected not to say.
And what is that? He's changing seats. Well, she can move down here. I was looking forward to sitting like Dr. Lake.
You've got a smart guy sitting.
Oh, I know it.
It is.
Dr. G and I go way, way back.
Yeah, I don't know. You can figure you must have said something. You want to slide back over here? I don't care if you want. Oh, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Well, it is on the consent agenda, so then there's no.
And really,
No, I am a rep. I did. Because I brought a copy of this thing because I was like,
I forgot to take it home and I just got to
well, and I did do this year's. I mean, it looks like we're actually about 5,000.
When they kicked that air conditioning, maybe there's something. But anyway, there's
I know, and I forgot my sweaters. What
in the world?
You know it.
Makes sense.
Yeah. What's that?
We almost threw it out.
Didn't let you log
Is that
in.
thing prescribed to you or something?
No, it's breeze.
Well, I can tell. I mean,
Not yet. It gives you your, it's not that great. Or tonight. I like it in pop or like a flavored water. But I'll get it now.
couldn't you?
Didn't sleep well last night, so I'm trying to give me some.
I've heard cranberry.
Oh, I
I think, what is it called? It's a detoxant.
Yeah. My daughter sells
Should have been a doctor.
this stuff, and it's like, she keeps me on it.
Is it like Arbonne or something? It's
Never heard of
It's
Arbonne.
like vitamin
You can mess with
supplements and stuff.
The air.
Yeah, how's it feel?
I feel it.
That's not too bad.
Oh, okay.
That's not too bad.
You're in a better spot. I feel it.
I know.
I thought you were
I
helping.
do you? I like that.
They call me there. Wow.
I thought you were helping him with his confusion.
No,
I know.
I didn't know that it changed.
yeah, that's what I was saying.
And I'm going to be out of town on it's the 14th, right? Yes, I'm coming back from South Carolina. I was sad that I was going to miss that. But I think I will be there for the 9th. The tops one. Yes, I think I can go to that, but the 14th I'll be coming back from that trip. So. I was impressed with that. Not just, matter of fact, I wanted to tell Steve that.
Brenda, I got a test for you tonight. I want
Because
to
I
see
looked
how
at that
many motions
and
you can make.
not just what you're offering, but the people who are leading the groups are great choices.
That's the game. The game's a fit.
Yes.
See if you can do this deal. If you don't, I'm gonna be like staring at you. I'm gonna make you really uncomfortable.
Let me get my checklist going.
Go ahead and call this meeting to order, the Joplin Schools Board of Education regular session, July 25th, 2017. We'll start with roll call, Pat.
Sheriff Drummond,
Here.
Derek Gander,
Here.
Deborah Wolf,
Here?
Brent Jordan,
Present.
Jeff Coe,
Present.
Jennifer Martucci,
Yes, ma'am.
and Lori Musser.
Here.
Thank you.
Well, please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You see, that's, I always want to break in.
got before you the agenda. Any items that need adjusting? Having not heard any,
I'll move that we approve the agenda as submitted.
I'll second.
motion by Sheriff, second by Jennifer. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, motion's approved. All right. Pat, are there any public comments? No public comments tonight, so we'll start off with the board president's report. So celebrations, we've got some celebrations to share with everybody. First one, we have, we announced our Joplin Schools Teacher of the Year. Darren Morgan has moved on to the Southwest Missouri region, so he'll be representing Southwest Missouri in the, let's see if I can read this here, in the state. And he was recognized Missouri Regional Teacher of the Year by the Southwest Center for Educational Excellence on Monday, July 10th. 2 teachers from Southwest Missouri region were presented the honor after 10 nominees from area schools went through a rigorous applications and interview process. Darren continues to represent Joplin Schools in the Departments of Elementary and Secondary Education selection for State Teacher of the Year. Darren is a quality and effective teacher who creates a learning environment where students are engaged in their learning and grow. So we recognize that, and we're very happy that the regions recognize it as well, and we wish him good luck at the state level.
Where does he teach?
Yeah, where's he teaching?
He teaches South.
South Middle, all right. Nice.
You know anything about him, Steve?
He is one of the finest teachers alive.
All right,
What does he teach?
He teaches 8th grade American history.
Oh, nice.
excellent.
Awesome.
Next up, the summer curriculum work. A lot of time Dr. Gilbert has spent working with teams this summer preparing curriculum. The kindergarten phonics and phonemic, thank you, awareness, worked also in elementary math, elementary science, middle school communication, arts and reading, and middle school math. So the teaching team had met through the summer and followed the process to write a district-wide curriculum. The process begins by reviewing and defining the state standards, then developing executive summaries to align each of the standards. Teachers have developed pacing guidelines, lesson plans, common vocabulary resources and assignments, and they're using a shared file throughout the district. Teachers have learned a great deal about their curriculum and have gone through the entire process. Defining the standards has brought about clarity and helps make them experts of what they teach. It also helps bring the excellence in each subject to every school or every campus in the district. So that's been exciting this summer to work on those. I think Steve's, that's your passion, so appreciate the time you spent on that.
Absolutely.
Next up, kindergarten screenings. Parents as teachers, educators that have been busy during the summer making sure kindergartners are prepared for school. Parents as teachers, educators have screened over 475 children that are enrolled to begin kindergarten as Joplin Eagles this August. The screenings are done individually, and evaluations include social interaction, number, color, and alphabet knowledge, memory, auditory and visual skills. The parents as teachers, educators review the results of the screening with parents and share the data with the principals. Screenings are useful tools in meeting the needs of our students and creating a baseline for their continued development. So appreciate that effort that goes on while the rest of us are out for the summer when the new kindergartners are coming. So a few celebrations there to share.
I have one other that wasn't, I was going to actually let Pat know. A couple weeks ago, Alec Davis, who is going to be a senior at Joplin High School, was named the Globe's Male Athlete of the Year for swimming.
Okay.
They chose athletes from all the sports in the area, and he was the one from Joplin High School that was named. He's very good. So congratulations to Alec for that.
Awesome. Like to hear that. Okay. The Data Analysis Committee. Sheriff, do you want to speak to that?
I'd love to, Jeff. Thank you. The Data Analysis Committee met and had a good conversation about what other than data and statistics as it related to ACT scores and grades, all kinds of good information. That committee continues to be active, and we're trying to follow the progress of students through the school system. And so the community is welcome. Members of the community are welcome to join that committee if they are interested in being present and hear what's going on and see how we're tracking the progress of our students.
The MAC scores are supposed to be out in the next few days or weeks.
Between July 24th and August 2nd.
Okay, so the next few
Yeah.
days.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we're waiting for that anxiously to be able to put that into the data mix, but preliminary scores look encouraging. And so we're excited to, at least the data fiends in that group are excited to get that information, to look at it and see how we're improving. So we'll post the next meeting that we've got, like we do for all. The safety committee? Laura?
I would be happy to take that. We met, we had a very good meeting, talking about the safety and security of our schools. We reviewed a checklist that's given to the principals for them to go around and things to look for on their campuses to make sure that they're safe and secure and to identify any changes or things that need fixed. There is a change in, I don't know if it's a change, but we now have a third-degree assault agreement with a local law enforcement agency. And I know Dr. Moss had signed that agreement with them, but there's been some changes as far as third-degree assault. So any students that might get in fistfights in school can now be charged with a felony. Am I right on that, Carrie? So that's something important for all of our students to know and our parents to know that, that might be a change that hopefully they won't be facing or having to address. And we talked about some of our safety goals, and there were several, and talked about the action steps for those, and then set the meetings for the rest of the year.
Okay. Excellent, thank you.
Very good.
Next up, superintendent's data report. Dr. Moss?
You've got health and dental care reports, Dr. Langford.
I think you've received them, have access to them anyway. I don't really know if we need to really go over in detail again because you've had there. We'd be glad to entertain questions. It does look like both of the health and dental funds are in good shape. It does appear that the use rate in the health fund, and being it's a self-funded plan, that's critically important, has been a little bit more favorable, but the fund balance is roughly $3.5 million. You always assume there's some bills out there that haven't yet been processed, so the assumption's $1 million, I believe. So we're looking, instead of being less than $1 million right now, that you've accomplished with the health fund, and I know you took that into consideration when you said teacher salary did not raise the cost of health insurance to the staff members, so they're positive. And the other two smaller ones, they're pretty well, they're kind of cost contained, much better, but they're both in good shape, so all of it looks good right now.
Yeah, definitely.
I know, having dealt with self-funded plans, and I know the anxiety that you get and you dealt with, and at least right now you're on one of those deals that where the the high claims, at least this year, were much more favorable than what you did in the past.
And I think last year was the first year of the Freeman Health Wellness Group, and I don't know if that's a coincidence that when our employees take care of the preventative, you can avoid some of those bigger issues that maybe come up later, but that's something coming up this summer.
The thing that really drives your negative health fund trends are those major claims, though.
Yeah.
When you get in situations, and I've observed this for nearly 30 years now, dealing with the health self-funded plans, and when you have $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 claims, or $1 million baby situations that you run into, those really take a toll on the plan. And so if you can stay away from that, the normal things that occur are anticipated as you run the actuarials to set up the premium rates that you're setting. So preventative, everyone needs to protect their health while they have it. Preventative is very, very good, but then avoidance of major claims is also critical.
Thank you.
And then the next item is financial statements, and that's also Dr. Langford.
We went ahead this month and generated the financial statements as they have, and I want to point out, I'm having Susan Smith sit with me because she's been the person behind the numbers that you've been getting for a long time. And You know, I'm having to ask her a lot of questions, and she's going to be sitting here with them because there are times that she can get an answer because she's the one that's generated the report. I did go through all of these and went in and talked to her yesterday, and we pointed out, and we've had discussion. But one thing we're going to be doing, which was a question to me, we're sitting here in July looking at the May 31st. We're going to get them more current so that you're looking at the most recent month. And then you get a tremendous amount of information, and we want to simplify it because understanding the trend of your expenditures and receipts is what's critically important. So we're going to take a look at, not saying we're not going to give you the information, but as far as the presentation, we're going to know where we are revenue-wise compared to the prior year and where we are expense-wise compared to the prior year, because that's critically, that's the dynamic, I think, that to me is very important to board members. That you need to understand where we're headed. She has done an analysis, and she's working on that. She's developing the Secretary Board report that goes into Jeff City, and that has to be accurate and detailed. But fund balances for the district will increase this year. There are two major contributing factors for that. One had to do with state funding. There was more state funding this year than was originally budgeted. And the reason for that is, in the past, Joplin, because of being in a declining enrollment, was always better off working on the first or second preceding year for payment purposes. But as you run this calculation, there are thresholds that add to the weighting of the ADA, and those are free and reduced lunch, limited English speaking, and our IEP students. And in the recalculation process, which I was involved in a couple of years ago, that's what I used to do, the way it works, those thresholds lowered. So Joplin, even though it declined in students this year, was paid on about 60 more kids than were anticipated at budget time last year. So an estimate was done just before the close of the year, so that inflated, gave us more money into the district. That's a one-time adjustment. And now that will become the baseline that's critically important for future budgets. And then the other thing, the local revenue was greater than anticipated. And just looking at it, what I've been able to look at very quickly, the reason for that, I think that the estimate for local revenue was at a 93% rate. And historically, Joplin has run at 99%. So if you take 6% over the assessed valuation, you add those two numbers, I think that's what causes that to go up. But that's a one-time budget adjustment, which has become the baseline going forward.
Any questions?
I have a question, not about that, but in looking in here, it says that the lease or the purchase on the lease purchase agreement on the Apple laptops for the high school, that was paid out July 5th. Is that right? So that's our last one, right?
Yes, that's
so
the
from
final
here
payment.
forward, we need to decide if that's something that we want to continue what we've paid for that. So that's $500,000 that we need to
We have to
decide.
think about the age of those devices and likely to replace them because we'll be approaching that decision soon.
Right, so, okay, but that's our last payment on those, so
Okay.
we're,
Yep.
okay. Good.
And as you begin to replace those machines, do you replace it with that machine, or is there an option?
Right, that's what I mean, yeah. Okay, good.
Excellent. Okay. Moving on, consent agenda is next. Be happy to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
2A through G, is that what we're looking for? Just number 2, right?
Well, I was looking at F itself, but we can,
I have a question on some, can I ask a question on here, or no?
typically we pull it out and ask questions, but since the motion hasn't occurred yet,
I'm
ask
just,
what you got.
the Anderson Engineering, is that on the Columbia safe room?
Yes.
Yes.
It is? Okay, I guess I should have asked to pull that out. Didn't we do that when I went to some of those meetings for Columbia Safe Room being built when they were talking about moving it, because it was not good to put it on the one side, so we moved it to the other. I thought we did all this.
Well, we have what we want to make sure is not some settling going on, and that's what this is about. We're checking to make sure there's no settling in the ground in that area. And that's what we want to make sure that that's not an issue for us moving forward.
Okay, so that's not something that
No.
they would have done under the scope of their work the last time we paid them for this?
They did do some work similar to this, but because of some things around the outside, perimeter, inside, we want to make sure that nothing else is occurring in that. We want to eliminate that possibility as we move forward.
Okay, so this isn't just that they missed something, this is something else.
We don't believe that this is because they missed something.
Okay, thanks, sorry.
Okay,
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda.
thank you, Sherry.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Sherry, second by Derek. Please vote.
Yes.
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 I'm sorry.
Yes.
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 Yes, okay, that motion passes. Okay. Dr. Saketa.
Okay, we have Aaron Hyde here and Dave Pettit come forward to talk about change order for the Early Childhood Center. And Ryan Walters is going to be here too, because he's going to talk about special inspections, just tag right here and get everybody together, and then we'll look at the total when it comes time.
All right, first of all, let me tell you that I took some vacation time, and when I came back, I was just amazed at the amount of construction that had taken place in my absence and how that has changed. I've been there almost daily since the beginning, and over a course of 3 weeks not being there at all and seeing it was just phenomenal. So if you haven't been by in the past 3 or 4 weeks, drive by again, because you will see just a fantastic amount of work has occurred. So we are bringing to you tonight PCCO number 6, which entails 5 different pieces to that. Change order 022 is to modify the windows to meet EFCO, who is the window manufacturer, to meet their installation specifications, to make some adjustments in the attachment of the windows. PCO 023 is to modify dealing with the fascia and making adjustments to the fascia above the clear story, which is the, if you're facing the front of the building, it's the neat looking roof line that sticks above everything else and has the multi-layered lean-to look to it, which really sets off the building. But we've got to make some adjustments there to the fascia to that. Number 24 deals with an office area. We had a particular area that was void of insulation. And so we're doing this to add insulation to help, one, seal that building, to help the comfort level, but more importantly, the efficiency and the sealedness of the building. And then number 26 is one of the fun things to bring to you, and that is the playground equipment that we're going to install. The pricing that you see there is less than the original unit price that was given to us. With great things from the manufacturer and the general contractors and the installers, we were able to get a better than unit price on bringing this to you. Also want you to note that the decisions on those pieces of equipment were made by our own early childhood design team early on, and we were able to satisfy in bringing to you that comfortability of installing all those pieces of equipment. And then no matter how minor it may be, I'm bringing a credit to you, and that is for $1,181, and that is due to the fact that we brought to you the fact last time that we were placing an island in the parking lot to help cover up some of those mining issues that we had. During the landscaping overview, when we went back again, we found that we've been double dipped on accidentally, and so this is a credit to that amount. So we're asking you to look at that and approve this evening a total PCCO of 006 of $101,931.17.
Now, for the benefit of the new board members that maybe weren't here when this was approved, the original plan was there was $5 million from the city and $5 million from the state. We said, take everything that you want that's a dream, subtract those things that we can add on later to ensure that we don't go over the limit. This was one of the things that we said, take it away so we don't go over our budget. Now we're in the contingency phase and using the balance of the budget that's allocated. And the big question is, what's left?
Okay, we
Okay,
have those
is that
numbers here
close enough
for
to
you.
you?
And the numbers are also inclusive of what Ryan will talk to you about as well.
Yeah.
Yes. This is at the end of June. We were at $385,246.21. Was contingency if you approve the two items that would, PCC 06, and then also the adjustment in the special inspections tonight. The next slide will show you that our new contingency amount will be $271,715.04.
And you're out of the ground, so there's, that's where 90% of the risk is of finding something you're not aware of.
Correct.
Questions, motion?
We just approving the prime contract or the architect contract together? We doing both?
This one
What was?
is just item one, which is,
Should we make a motion to combine them?
no, we can.
And if you do, we probably want to hear from Ryan a little bit.
Yeah.
Ryan Walters, our architect. If you want to talk about the second one.
Might as well.
Talk about the second.
Sounds like we're gonna be okay. Let's go.
All right, so I think originally, many of you will remember, we brought to you an estimate via Anderson Engineering to do special inspections and testing during the construction phase. That estimate was $72,000. Since that time, unfortunately, we have discovered no less than 6 finding features on site that was not included in that estimate. That estimate was based on what it would take to test soils, to test rebar, to test welding, to test masonry, concrete pours, these sorts of things. Those mine features ate into that estimate. Our hope was to come in under that estimate. Unfortunately, that has boosted us beyond that. So we've asked Anderson to do it, and Josh was here tonight if we want to get technical with any questions. What we've asked them to do is put together a second proposal that would essentially increase the design fee here by, I think it's $11,600 to cover the remainder of construction on the site in terms of different types of inspections we need to ensure the building is being constructed in accordance with codes and life safety rules and these sorts of things. One of the things that we did have Anderson do, just to be clear, is break out what was out of scope. So those surprises that we found in the ground, unfortunately, and that accounted for somewhere in the range of $25,000 worth of the work. So all told, we expect that the special inspections will actually account for about $57,000 of the total dollars. And again, the $11,600 is an estimate. It's a conservative estimate. I've said that before. I hope it's true this time that we don't reach that. But because we're out of the ground, the site is buttoning up. It's looking good. Hopefully we can reach that, and there's not going to be any more surprises.
On the grant that was awarded to us, was there a percentage of the grant that was allowed for this type of thing? Like or were we just given the grant $5 million from each, and however you spend it is, or was there?
For contingency?
No, for architect fees and stuff, is there only a percentage of the grant that can be spent on that, or no? Sometimes they do. They tell you you can only spend 20% of your grant can be spent on administration or whatever. Are we limited in any way?
I wasn't here at the beginning, but I don't recall that being in our conversations since then.
Yeah, we've been working closely with Steve Etcher and his group there to make sure that the routes that we're taking to allocate these funds are the correct ones in CDBG's eyes. And no, there's nothing as it relates to special inspections or design fees that is allocated a certain percentage. There may be something for administration or something like that, but that's not out of this bucket. It would come out of the design fee.
I just want to make sure that when we're doing these change orders and things, that we're falling within the grant allocations for things, so they're not going to come back to us and say, okay, well, this isn't covered.
One thing that I'll point out to you is that all of these change orders that you approve, the Board of Education here is really just the first line. We get those approved from you all, and those are vetted through the city and the state. Proof has had to be made for each one of these expenditures that we bring to you by reasonability, practicality, and it's also the engaged against. If another contractor was to give you a pricing for that, it's done so to do a comparison. So we are required several ways to prove that what we're bringing to you, that you all approve, is also approved by the state and the city.
Okay, I just want to make sure what we're doing is reimbursable and that we're not going to be caught with our pants down, basically.
And honestly, I think that's a very good answer, because that's our best double, triple check, if you will,
Okay,
to make sure that we're doing things within the spirit of what was intended.
great, thank you.
There are no other questions?
I have one question. So we're far enough in the construction phase to know that it's time to go ahead and go with the equipment, and the timing on the equipment is appropriate? Because that's a significant dip into this, what's remaining. I just want to make sure we're not getting ahead of ourselves.
There's a substantial amount of lead time that it takes for the ordering of this equipment. And with the progress that we're making, it's time to make that. And we feel comfortable enough with the contingency with where it's at, that we still have enough to draw from for anything in the future. But like I said, we're kind of past those big ticket items coming out of the ground.
Thank you.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve paying prime contract and architect.
And
I'll second.
is that,
Did that include?
is that
One and two.
item 1 and 2? Okay, great. So motion by Lori, second by Derek. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, the motion passes. And while we're still there, I'll share, it's getting close to the deadline time where we'll have to designate what that facility is going to be named. So the board policy says that the board will appoint a committee to come up with suggestions to provide to the board for consideration. And so don't answer tonight, but think about someone from the way the policy reads, it's the community, the staff, someone that might be working there, and students in the district. So think of someone.
I would mention it might make sense to have somebody from the city council on that committee as well, since part of the money is coming from government resources.
The way I would share it is everybody pick one, so you don't end up with 100 people on a committee and end up with 99 different names, but everybody bring a name. I'll contact you later. We'll get the names, and then we'll set up time where that committee can meet and bring some suggestions to the board. So, is there a deadline for that? I lead time-wise and.
Well, Ryan and I were just talking earlier, and it really depends on when we open the facility, as if you do something different on the outside other than what's already being planned. So, that's another thing. When the building is completed, there's probably going to be some time between when we actually get kids in there. So I would say, if we could do something by October, would that be sufficient, do you think, at the earliest?
Probably the meeting before that. I would say
September?
September. meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we've got
That gives
two
us-
meetings and some time to
months,
meet in
yeah.
between, so, all right, thank you, guys. Okay, next item up, number 3. MSBA delegate selection. This is, who's on that?
Oh, that's okay. Just to let you know that the MSBA conference is October 6th. Well, the delegate assembly portion of that, I think the conference is 5th and 6th. But the board has not chosen a delegate for the delegate assembly, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention if you should choose one this evening.
Anybody know for sure they're going to be there?
It would make sense that either our president or vice president represent us, I would think. Wouldn't you think?
I agree. We tried to change that in the policy last year so that it was one of the officers because they typically are in attendance. But MSBA said, no, you can't do that. You need to assign someone. It can be one of the officers, but they have to be separately assigned.
It
apparently.
can't be a foregone conclusion.
Right. So if you would like to nominate somebody, Sherrick?
Who is
I
there
will be
anyone who
there
has?
for sure.
You're going to be there?
I will be there for sure.
Well, I would nominate Jeff Koch for that purpose.
And there's a big slate of things that they advocate for, and the reality is it's usually 95% approved in advance because they do a lot of work up to it. So I would be happy to represent if. Lori, are you going to be there? You want to see the inside of it?
I
Okay.
was there last year,
Oh,
very
were
good
you?
conference, but
Is there any particular benefit to being our official representative? I mean, do you have voting rights or something like that?
There's voting rights for the district, yes. So the district gets 1 out of 400.
I certainly
votes.
didn't intend to nominate without a full
No.
discussion.
I wasn't
No.
planning on being for that.
Okay, well, I've made a motion. I
Okay.
haven't heard
Oh,
a
yeah, there's a
second.
motion.
No, I'll second.
Oh, okay, Brent, second. Okay. Any discussion? Okay, please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, okay. Thank you. That motion passes.
Thank you.
I'll share with you what comes out of it. All right, next up, accounts payable.
I think you have the information about the bills to be paid for this month. They're all have been handled through the budget or been brought before the board if they needed to be. And would recommend that you approve the accounts payable, and be glad to entertain questions. Susan?
I'll move that the Board of Education approve payment of bills in the amount of $6,516,479.81.
Second.
Motion by Sherrick, second by Lori. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, okay, that motion passes. Thank you. Next up, depository bid.
You have the information, as you recall, last month, the district had requested depository bids. Statutes are that you can bid a depository up to 5 years. And the way ours is done, it's bid up to 5 years, or within a certain number of days of notice, 90 days, I believe, you could terminate at the end of the year. So it's really a lucrative situation for the district. It used to be that you had to bid every 2 years, and that was just so cumbersome, and probably 20 years ago they changed that. But anyway, when the bids came back, and they were due back on June the 14th, started looking at it, and it looked like, and I was not involved with it at the time, but it was appearing that there needed to be some discussion about the current depository that the district had had for a number of years. And Paul reached out to you and recommended it be moved forward. He got from U.S. Bank an agreement that they would continue up to 6 months if it took that long to make the decision. So that was really one of the first things that I got involved in, taking a look at this. And the very first thing that I did is I did call United Missouri Bank, which seemed to have the best bid, and verify that our understanding of their bid was just exactly what it was. And then Susan was gone when I made that call. But then we came back and we reviewed this, put together this spreadsheet, all the information, all of the bidders gave the proposals based on information that was provided relative to the month of February 2016. So they're all comparing apples to apples. And they ran their calculations. Joplin has not been receiving any interest earnings on their money. However, they've not been incurring any cost for the operations. And that's offset by what was called an earnings credit, but any balance in the earning credit did not accrue to the district. United Missouri Bank submitted a bid, and they did give us it will cost. We will pay a fee. However, they did actually what was requested in the bid, that they tied their rate to the Fed funds rate by the target rate, and then it floats. The day that they had to submit the bid, which was June 14th, the Fed fund rate was 0.75 to 1, and they based their bid on what they would be paid by the Federal Reserve Bank for any money they had, 65% plus 20 basis points, or 85 basis points, which is less than 1%. It's not a lot of money, but yet it's better than what we had been receiving. So when we did the analysis of that 1 month, after we paid their fees, we would have had $21,000 in interest earnings that month compared to 2 lesser amounts. We did go back before we talked to everyone, and we talked to all 3 bidders again, clarifying, making sure that what we were going to present would be accurately reflect what they were bidding, and we got that assurance. And we didn't present the information, but we're talking, and what's interesting, June 14th, Janet Yellen raised that rate 25 basis points, which doesn't sound like much, but then we did a comparison of how much we had on the average all year long. This was kind of a high amount in February, and that 25 basis points was $40,000 additional interest that we could accrue in that year. So based on the current basis points, if we used last year's fund balances, we could potentially be netting close to $250,000 in interest earnings when we've not been receiving any. So it put us in a position we have to do that, make that recommendation. The downside is United Missouri Bank only has one location, so it will require some of our folks to drive a little bit further, but we can pay a little extra mileage with the interest earnings on that. And I will say also that we will be talked to Carrie already and Dr. Moss about maybe visiting with the policy committee. Missouri School Boards Association does your policies, and there are two options about your depository. And we even have another option. And many schools in the state of Missouri use the Municipal Securities Investment Program. And I've used that in the past. They hold about $2 billion of the surplus money in the schools of the state of Missouri. And we think that if we would, and we talked to United Missouri, they understand that we might take the discretionary, keep a amount in there for smooth operations, but take that, and if we could earn another 40 to 50 basis points, we're talking about another potential $120,000 to $150,000 in interest earnings. So going from zero to potentially over a 12-month period to pushing $350,000 to $400,000. But it would require you to change a policy, and that will not be a difficult thing, and we will go through your process of getting that done. We're not ready to do that anyway. And United Missouri did say we would like an option to see if we could meet that. Well, yeah, if we could, that'd be fine. But if they can't, they understand that they require $0 extra dollars. We pay the fees. So.
But this motion tonight wouldn't preclude us from later on deciding to use that option.
And we discussed that with them in the process of getting their understanding. And they did agree they're going to send some folks down to help us make the transition. Our goal would be to try to have banking services transition by September 1st. And it's going to put us on the fast track. But so we would recommend that with appreciation to United Missouri, or excuse me, U.S. Bank, for the years of service that they've rendered through their changes in names and history, but in the best interest of the school district and available resources that are needed for operations, that United Missouri has the preferable bid.
Doctor, it looks like this was submitted, and you indicated that February was kind of a high balance month for us. Can you give me, and I also know that you went through averages on the year, which is what we wanted.
I've got it.
And you're fairly new to the office. I just am curious as to what we might expect on a more common or average monthly basis on this.
Well, the average for the year is $28 million. This was done on 39 million. So I've got the spreadsheet.
Yes,
but again, we didn't want to bring that in discussion. We wanted to compare. But I did have that information, and that's how we even
so
have
you would think this would average 3/4 of what we're showing here anyway on an average, you know, if we were to average it out on a more typical month. Am I making any sense?
Well, the average month that we would have, comparing it to the average balance for the year, is 26,000 as opposed to 21,000.
Oh, really?
Yes, multiplied times 12 as opposed to the 192,000. That number would be 238,000, 25 basis points.
Well, Doctor, I read this wrong, I guess. I guess I didn't understand the way this worked. But that's great. Crazy number.
Well, we didn't talk about the 12-month. We did all the comparison based on what they were asked to bid on.
I assume that if your monthly balance was lower, you would incur a lower interest earning.
Oh, no. Well, you would, but over the course of the year, and I've added 25 basis points, is what we will start being paid will be 1.01 instead of the 0.085.
Gotcha, thank you. That would make up that difference.
Yeah. I can show you that spreadsheet too.
Yeah, great. Based upon that, I move that we change our banking affiliation and agree we should certainly be grateful to U.S. Bank and their years of service to the school district.
I'll second that.
Motion by Sharon, second by Jennifer.
And that would
Thank you
move
for-
to UMB.
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you for looking into that and explaining it the way that you did, because that's, gosh,
I've always wondered why we never received interest.
yeah, that's great. Gosh.
All right, so there's been a motion and a
Wrong with our
second.
students.
Please vote.
Yes, please.
Yes.
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 Yes, that motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Dr. Langston, again, that's the low-hanging fruit. I would expect this every month. You come with a $250,000 savings, so. No, yeah,
I think I might be
yeah.
sick next month.
All right. Next up, the meal price increase.
Okay, Rick Kinkle's here to explain this. It can be a little bit confusing, okay, on this, but anyway, we are poised to go ahead and recommend a nickel increase in the elementary, middle school, and high school lunches for the cost, as well as on the adult lunches, we're looking at a 50-cent increase. So anyway, Rick, you want to kind of explain to them the intricacies?
According to the USDA Paid Lunch Equity Act, we're required to raise our lunch prices to a certain dollar value. I tried to outline that by our $2.15 highest priced meal plus our commodities that we receive in 32 cents plus our government reimbursement rate for a paid meal. That brings it up to $2.86, and we're way below that. So I opted to increase it by the minimum amount of a nickel. And if you remember last month, I also included that nickel would cover the cost of the online payment system. So, you know, that's kind of a win-win for our community and our parents. And then the adult lunch price, I was cited on our DESE review this year that I was below their calculation formula. And I kind of knew that, but I kind of let it just kind of ride because I know a lot of the teachers complain about they pay so much more than the students. But if you actually look at the $2.15 high school price, plus the commodities, plus the reimbursement rate, it's $2.86 or $2.85. So they're paying $2.50. They're paying what, 25 cents below or 35 cents below what we're receiving on a paid meal. So that's kind of.
Any
and I know I think in the federal regulations it's saying that by 2020 we're supposed to be up to that $2.86 rate, and I just don't foresee us to be there. So that we may be cited for years to come that we're not there. But you know, with positive fund balance and food service, and coupled with the minimum requirement to raise it a nickel, it may take us a while to get there.
Can you explain, just so people understand the benefit to this, the online, that, because we want people to register online for, just explain that 5 cents, it's offset. So where they see an increase, they're going to see a benefit in what area again?
Yeah, we're getting ready to post up onto the food service website the web page that the parents can use, schoolcafe.com, to register an account. They can watch or monitor their student balances, their purchases. They can also apply for their free and reduced lunch meal or application through that software as well. If they do make a payment, the last I think it's the last 10 years, the parent has been paying that convenience fee of making a payment. And I see the huge benefits to us absorbing that as an operational expense to get more parents to use that. You know, maybe less envelopes get lost in the mail, or not mail, but backpacks or things of that nature. The money gets lost. You know, I think it increases or decreases the theftability. So I think that's a win again for the district. But, you know, as a parent, there's a lot of conveniences there that they can, again, watch their balances, pay online, and not get charged that 5% transaction fee.
Good. Thank you.
Rick, again, can you explain why a 50-cent increase in adult lunch?
Again, the federal standard is our highest paid lunch plus the 32 cents in commodities that we receive, plus the 38 cents in government reimbursement for a paid meal. So that's basically what we're receiving for every paid meal in the district would be the $1.85 or $2.85, and we were at $2.50. So Paid Lunch Equity Act says we should be above that $2.85 for an adult meal. So I'm hoping, you know, again, I chose the 50-cent increment so that way we didn't have to come back and raise it a nickel next year and raise it again a nickel the following year to keep ahead of that curve.
So the changes that you're proposing are those that you're mandated to do?
I'm mandated to change them because
If I could support him, you know, on this, because I was
Sure.
involved in the Healthy Hunger-Free Act 2011 went in effect, and we were dealing with that. But exactly, number one, on the adult side, the federal government's position is this lunch program isn't for adults, it's for kids. That's why you're going to pay for your adult lunch. The other thing is that they came back, and at one time, the belief was you were going to have to raise your price because they said, we're reimbursing you this much, you know, for the meal, and you shouldn't be selling it less than for the reimbursement. So then they came back and modified their requirement, and instead of having to make it bigger, then they went with that 5 cents a year. They will allow you to do that. So it's all driven by USDA, and when they take these actions to pass legislation, it's sort of like we pass legislation predicated upon this rationale. Then they expect us to, kind of goes back to Jennifer's question about when people give us money, they expect us to spend that money or use that money for the purpose for which it's given. So that's what he's having to do.
And to preface that as well, I've been able to keep the lunch prices low because of operating efficiently. So in essence, the mandate from the USDA Paid Lunch Equity Act is probably predicated by Joplin schools. We've kept the prices low, and actually the paid parents have been reaping the benefits because we should have had our prices up higher. So it's kind of a slap on the hands for Joplin because we have had a low lunch price to both the adults and the paid students. Now the federal government's coming in to say, we don't want that. We want it all to be equal.
Thank you for the thorough explanation. Any other questions? Be happy to entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Jennifer, second by Brent. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, that motion passes. Thank you, Ray.
Thanks, Rick.
Next up, Ms. Bevis.
Mike Bevis is going to come up here and talk to us about buses. We all know that we need to replace some buses. And so, Mike, you want to tell them that, what you did quickly, and then share them a little good news, sounds like.
Yeah, good news first, is I picked up a couple of these awards in our MAPT meetings 2 weeks ago in Columbia, Missouri. So one's from the Missouri Highway Patrol, and the other is from DESE, and it's for achieving this year 90% or greater on our inspections, which we celebrated that earlier this year.
21 years in a row, or?
I think we've had 21 years. This is just another year's worth, so it is a great accomplishment. Very proud of our mechanics and our drivers for taking care of the buses the way they do. So, but on the other hand, those buses that we have, a lot of them are getting very aged and a lot of miles, and so we're doing our best to work with what we have and order new buses. So we've got 3 bids in, well, 2 bids and a no bid for the 3 or 4 buses that we asked for earlier this year. So,
Just a question for you. The new cameras that you're installing,
Yes.
do you have enough to cover these new buses as well?
yes, in fact, I think we went ahead and ordered those buses with those to come with it. So it's give us a couple extra, but it's included in that price. So we'll have 3 regular sized buses, 71 passenger, and then the 1 lift bus, which for wheelchairs, and between 36.6, I think what they call it, but you get 6 wheelchairs and 36 passengers on there, so needed very much.
For a guy who's never looked for a bus, is there any difference between buses?
As far as brands or?
Yeah, I mean, does one bus company offer the same bus as another?
They all have to meet Missouri specs and federal specs, so in that order, they're all the same, and then the others are just basically kind of preferences, what your mechanics are used to. We're used to International. They already have them, you know, a lot of the tools for that. However, it doesn't mean we have to go that way. If somebody could meet all the specs that we need and we're used to, then, you know, we would certainly go with them if they got the bid. But yeah, I'm from Neosho. I'm partial to Bluebird, but International's been great since I've been here, and they're strong running buses.
And so these are the same brand that we currently have?
International, yeah.
Excellent.
So the bid was for the International buses, so people.
Well, basically, yeah, because that's what our guys know, so.
Gotcha.
He picks the specs basically off the buses that we had formerly and goes with that type of chassis, which the others can meet most of those standards, but there's a few things that are unique to International.
And that may be why Midwest no bid? Or did they say?
Central states have, yeah, Midwest, exactly, yes, they even provided a letter stating that, you know, no problem, but they just kind of know how it's not worth their time. They have Thomas buses, not International, so.
Great. If there's no further questions, I'd be happy to entertain a motion to approve.
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second that. Derek made the motion, Brett second. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, let's buy some buses, thank you.
And the other good news is we were about $10,000 under budget for what we.
Actually, thought they might be.
What they might be. So, thank you all very much.
Can I ask, and maybe it's Carrie, but both of you, I know that, because I've talked to Eric, right? Yes. We have, a lot of our buses are getting to a point where they are high in miles, older, so we really have an older fleet. We really need to, I'd like to, at some point, maybe as part of the budget committee, is have you come up with a list of needs so we can prioritize those, like in budgeting. If we need to buy, do we need to buy 6 buses next year? Do we need, you know, what do we really need to keep our fleet healthy and
We've
safe?
already done a study on that this year since I've been here. I mean, and honestly, I mean, it would probably, it would probably scare everybody here, but if we were to be on a normal sort of average track, we need 8 buses for 3 years to get caught up.
Okay. Well, and I know that's a lot, but would you bring that to our committee so that we can look at that and see what we can do? Because we're getting some money that we may be.
One-time
monies that we could prioritize to buses, or, but we need to know that it's a need.
Interest money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah. That maybe we could allocate some of that to try to help, because that's a need that we have.
Yeah, and that's also why we come up with a little extra money earlier in our budget this year, and we thought, well, we could replace an engine, and that's already been put in, and it's working great. Doesn't have that new bus smell, but it has a new bus sound, and it's going to work great. So we essentially we'll end up with about 5 new buses.
So if you kind of give that to us so we can.
They've done, Mike and his team's done a really good job of laying, Eric Hudson too, of laying out all the buses, their age, their mileage, and some targets we really want to hit. He's right. There's some targets we want to hit in terms of the age of the buses. And I think it also puts a strain on the maintenance staff of keeping up, because we have more breakdowns.
Right.
And that's why the accomplishment, even though we had, it was like 98.9%, we lost a couple of taillights that went out right when they was getting ready to inspect them. But imagine that, you know, with a good fleet, and I'm not saying ours is bad, but with what they have to deal with and repair to get 83 buses through there at 98.9, and they're doing awesome.
They did a wonderful job.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Next up, Dr. Sagana.
Okay, and there are other experts in here that use the software that could probably talk more extensively. But our first one is the Weidenhammer Alio maintenance renewal. Alio is what we use for all our finance software, and it's something that we rely on heavily to track everything we do when it comes to finance. I don't know if there's anybody that has anything to add, Susan or Mike, about it, other than the fact that it's pretty essential that we take care of this, because I know in my world I'm approving things on a daily basis, and all the secretaries are putting things in, but accounting for it
is extremely important, and Susan can find things at the drop of a hat at a moment's notice on anything that we've done in the previous years because of it. Susan, anything you want to add about Alio? Other than the fact that it's essential.
No, it's been a good system for us, and it was a good change from the old AS400 that we had.
Yes, AS400, yes. Could we remember that earlier?
No, that's great, and I have no problem with it. The question comes up is, if you went to a new system in the future, is this comparable pricing, or is this the Cadillac model, or newer system's going to be twice as much? Can you give a feel for how this compares in the marketplace?
Well, when we purchased the system back in 2010, 11, this was the one of the lower priced, or I guess the mid-range.
Okay.
We haven't done that study again since then. This is about a 3% increase from last year.
Is this already budgeted?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd move that we approve the purchase of Weidenhammer Maintenance Renewal. Did I pronounce that?
Weidenhammer,
All right.
Weidenhammer, thank you.
Motion by Sherrick, second by Lori.
I do have a question.
Questions?
For Carrie, and maybe even Mike. Again, back to the bus maintenance. I've been over there, and they keep maintenance records for all of the buses on cards. They do not have, is this something that they could use to keep track of bus maintenance?
No, there's not anything in there for subsidiary records like
Okay,
that.
because it's saying like a warehouse inventory, could you not incorporate like an inventory kind of thing? You have a smile on your face,
Well, I'm sure Mike and Dave have encountered some. In fact, I'm thinking, Dave, we had this conversation once, didn't we? Before you took your new position? You want to relay that conversation real quick? Or Mike, I don't want to steal Mike.
I just say I've been talking to different companies about a fleet maintenance system, but I don't know how that would incorporate what you're talking about. It's a whole system that works with the GPS that we put on the buses, that would help keep track of the buses, what's going on with them, reporting, anytime they do a part change, a big part, it's entered in the computer, and that keeps track of it. You wouldn't have library cards anymore, which is they are.
Yeah, I just know that they could use this. I just
Right.
was wondering if they could use this system, or is there something we could get that would work well with this, that,
For maintenance, record-keeping purposes, if that's your intent, to replace cards, spreadsheets can be built per unit and put in there, and through VLOOKUP, you can find anything you want, so long as you put the part numbers in. And so the cost of doing that's nothing.
okay.
It's just changing your system.
I think probably a lot of what Mike's been looking at with GPS and tracking and cameras, that's probably a nice added bonus that goes with some of those software systems. So one of the things that, as we move forward, and we look at that, talking about buses in general and new cap outlay monies and everything else moving forward, hopefully, that we might kill a couple birds with one stone, even though that wasn't the intended intention of it, but more GPS and cameras was, and then the maintenance comes with it. But Ron's right. In the meantime, we could do something different or do some training for that if necessary.
I just know that was a need. That, when he showed me those, they've got like years of maintenance records on these little cards. It's crazy that's how it's kept. So I just didn't know if that was something.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
No,
good thought.
Kind of
Something
off
to,
track,
something to add to
but-
it, okay. So we have a motion by Sherrick and a second by Lori. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, that motion passes. Next up, renewal of student information system.
We have another similar situation going on with Infinite Campus. We've had Infinite Campus since 2007, I think. It's been a while. It's been a very good system for us, for all our student information. And then what we're doing with other programs like Canvas and talking back and forth and working and so on, and keeping track of grade reporting and student demographics and student information and so on. And then also with core data, which for our DESI reports and everything we have to do. So again, it's an annual agreement renewal, and it's a total of $80,000, some change.
Again, I'd share the same comment. I mean, have you looked out there to see what else and what that cost is, or is this normal? Is this?
Pretty normal. I don't know. I didn't check with Eric on, with him before he left on exactly what the percent increase was. I don't know if you know, Mike, if for different from last year.
I looked at it. It's a little bit less than last year.
Oh,
About
yes.
$900 less
Yeah.
than last year.
Okay. It's very good. But I will tell you, I was involved, I happened to be on the committee when we chose Infinite Campus several years ago, and we haven't had a reason to look lately, and we've been very happy with it. For the most part, there were some hiccups with Canvas when it came in, merging with that, but that's something we can poll the principals and everybody around as time wears on and see if there's anything else we need to look at.
All right.
I will tell you that not all student information systems are the same. So you sometimes pay what you, or you get what you pay for. We've experienced that a few times, so.
All right. I'd be happy to entertain a motion to approve this.
I'll motion that we approve the renewal for the annual people order agreement.
I'll second.
So Brett moved and Derek second. Questions? Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, that motion passes. Thank you. Next up, antivirus licensing.
Well, we don't like to get viruses in our computers and anything else for that matter. And Mike could probably speak better to this, maybe, Mike, on this virus system?
Maybe.
Anything you want to say about that?
Now, this is all, the virus, antivirus we had been using, they've gotten pretty much out of control as far as costs on, went out and rebid, got new ones, and this is what we take back to.
So this is a new antivirus system?
Yeah, this will be a new antivirus purposes software. Okay.
Thank you, Mike, for doing what I was asking them to check on. Even though you do it and you keep up with it, you noticed it was getting out of control?
I have a question.
It's more pricing on it.
So why is there such a big difference in the less of the other two? What is not, are they all comparable in what service you receive? Are we
getting what we're paid for?
Yeah, I mean, because you know, your 37.4 is 24,000, then the next jump's 42. So that's a big jump. What, are you getting apples to apples?
That's a good question, which I really don't know the answer to on these particular softwares. What I can tell you about antivirus software, paid versus free versus, premiums, whatever, plus how often it's updated. A lot of it's in, how easy it is to deploy. Can you deploy from a single location? You have to touch each machine. There's a lot of differences in there as well.
And when you prepared this, you gave them a set of specifications that needed to meet?
Sure, yeah, I'm sure.
And then they said, we can do that, and maybe that somebody gave the Cadillac version when a lesser version meets it, I don't know, but.
We do a lot of our machines where we actually touch and we actually image and we install the software package on the image and then it's applied to the machine. Where other ones, they deploy them out over the internet as you turn the machine on.
Automatically.
So we were probably able to go with a little lesser one, just through that.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, I'll move that we approve the purchase of the antivirus license fee from 37.4.
A second.
Motion by Sherrick, second by Jennifer. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Next up, Envision Math.
Okay, the Envision Math, this is just a replacement for workbooks for some of the kindergarten through second grade schools to have just an upgrade, not an upgrade, just replacement for the student workbooks.
Consumable?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that they use.
Single source provider.
I'll make a motion we approve buying kids their workbooks.
I will second that.
Motion by Lori, second by Jennifer. Discussion? Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, that motion passes. All right, next up, school supplies bid.
Yes, and we also have Dale Peterson, I saw him earlier here, and he solicited bids for students through his program, and you have those 3 bids listed and the recommendation of Walmart.
Okay.
And he's here if we have questions.
Do we still?
Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, do we still have a Bright Futures Activity Fund? I thought we didn't. I didn't realize. I thought we didn't.
Yes, we have a Bright Futures Activity Fund, runs on deposit with Joplin schools, and we spend it for the benefit of Joplin school students.
Okay.
Okay.
And so the recommendation is to go with Walmart.
Yeah, I'd like to recommend that we approve the purchase of student supplies from Walmart in the amount of $25,038.03, and with great appreciation of the Bright Futures Activity Fund for funding that purchase.
I will second.
I want to make sure that's minus the fidget spinners.
Yes.
That's minus the fidget spinners.
Motion by Sherrick, second by Derek. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, that motion passes. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, we're down to the pluses and deltas.
I've got a delta. I failed to mention the great work of Dr. Gilbreth during the data analysis meeting. He really presented a lot of data to us, and I failed to mention his good work, and I apologize for that oversight.
No worries, thank you.
I'll add to it, he did a lot of statistical analysis between the ACT and our GPA and seeing how they correlate with the middle 75% and making sure that how they perform, and a GPA is representative of how they would score on the ACT. I mean, in layman's terms. He said it a lot more eloquently, but.
And there was a lot more going on in that, so
Yeah.
I appreciate all of his time and effort.
Definitely.
I'd like to see that.
Mhm.
Can you guys share that with the rest of the board?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing that.
Yep.
Yeah, kudos to the high school teachers. They do an outstanding job with their grading practices. Basically, to kind of tell you what it was, there's a tool that breaks the ACT down to what a typical GPA, so if I score 19 on the ACT, then my GPA should correlate to a typical a standard. And they break that down in the high school. And so you look at things like you take out the top 25%, you take out the bottom 25%, because obviously the top 25%, if there's, if they take a weighted class or they're scoring super high, obviously that skews it. Weighted GPAs can skew it. Take out the bottom percent, because of special education, those kinds of issues. But then the middle 25% is a super representation of, is there grade inflation going on, or what are we seeing in terms of trends? And really, to be perfectly honest with you, JHS is grading just a little bit harder than what the average ACT, within just a few points, but they're right on the money. So.
And I'd like another delta on myself, because when we were talking about the safety committee, I failed to thank Jim Hounshell and all the work that Dr. Saketa put into that meeting. So as committee members, when you go and people are clearly prepared and for you, it really makes your service on that committee much easier. And I'm grateful to those people for that.
Second that.
Thank you.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. No. All right. Anything else? How about the big motion to adjourn?
I will.
Derek's ready for that? All right. Deborah's second.
Yes.
Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, we're adjourned. Thank you.